Welcome to Richard and Rajul from the British High Commission. Welcome to the campus. Dear students, today we are very lucky to have Rajul and Richard here to speak about the Shepherding Scholarships and Fellowships. They have come all the way from Delhi. And I would just, before handing this over for the introductions to Professor Aman Shah sir, our Head of Alumni Relations, I would just urge all of you to ask questions, pay attention, and make the most of this session.
Thank you, Shiri. On behalf of the Vice Chancellor, I'd like to welcome Mr. Richard Barlow and Rajul. Thank you very much for coming to the university. I imagine this is your first visit to Jindal Global University. So maybe I can give you a very, very brief introduction. Students here are sitting to listen to you, not to me. So I will keep it as brief as possible. You may have already heard about the university. We are 10 years old, started in 2009 with one school, School of Law, and in each successive year subsequently, we established various schools. Now we have 8 schools in the university in 10 years' time. And of course, we have also been ranked now by QS rankings. We have got into the ranking game as well, QS rankings and Times Higher Education rankings. And also we have recently been given the status of Institution of Eminence, which is a status given by the Government of India to a selected number of public universities and private universities, only 10 of them in each category. So we are one of the 10 within 10 years of time. So probably we are the youngest university to achieve this kind of achievement. And of course, not trying to gloat over our achievements, in a humble way, I'd like to say that what we have achieved in 10 years, probably other institutions will take about 25 to 30 years to develop. As you'll be able to see, if you have the time today to go around and also do a campus tour, we have a very vibrant environment here. We started with 100 students in 2009 and 10 faculty members. And now we have more than 250 faculty members and about 4,000 students on campus. And this is a residential university, so all our students live here and make our lives enjoyable, faculty and staff. We all enjoy them being here, especially when they are gone on the semester break. It is really dull and boring for us. I wish the university doesn't have any breaks and you're here all the time. Deliberately, our semester breaks are quite long, 2 months at a time, so that students can go on internships and can refresh themselves. We have summer schools and winter schools which we collaborate with Harvard University, Cambridge, Oxford, and various other universities. Our students go there during the semester break, either in winter or in summer, and we have plenty of these opportunities for our students. And again, within a short period of time, our students also are beginning to show the kinds of accomplishments and achievements which are just remarkable. And I hope you will have, Richard, the opportunity to know about some of these things. I have in the bag, which we will eventually give to you, bag of goodies, we have one document which is the Vice Chancellor's address at the convocation recently on the 7th of August, which gives a lot of background information about the university and our various achievements. Now, Richard Barlow is, he will be celebrating his first anniversary, I believe, in the British High Commission in September. But he is not new to India because he has been somehow associated with India and Indian history, Indian culture, and so on since about 1995, when he was an undergraduate at Oxford University and subsequently for his masters and various other things. So he is a very learned scholar about Indian politics, Indian culture, Indian history, and so on. So we are very, very pleased to have him here. And also, this is an important occasion. As you can see, the number of students here, generally we have a bit of difficulty in coaxing students to come here to attend any such event when there are classes going on. But the attendance here itself is evidence of the students' interest in Shepherding Scholarship and to meet you, Richard and Raju. So with those few remarks, I'd like to hand over to you, Richard. Please go ahead. And once again, welcome to all students and to parent. One parent is also here. So thank you all very much, Richard.
तो नमस्कार मित्रों और अमन शाह जी को बहुत धन्यवाद आपका बहुत दयालु परिचय के लिए और शिरीन मोती को बहुत बहुत धन्यवाद कि शिरीन एक हमारा अचीवमेंट का अलुमनाई है और मेरे लिए बहुत बड़ा प्लेजर है कि मैं आज आपके साथ हूँ और मैं कुछ शब्द पहले हिंदी में बोलना चाहता हूँ क्योंकि मैं ब्रिटिश राजनयिक हूँ मैं हमारा ब्रिटिश का विदेश मंत्रालय का सेवा में काम करता हूँ और मैं बहुत भाग्यशाली हूँ कि मैं हमारा हिंदी बोलने वाला हूँ हमारे सहयोग में तो भारत आने से पहले मैंने लंदन में 9 महीनों के दौरान हिंदी सीखा और हमारा फॉरेन ऑफिस में वेस्टमिंस्टर में हमारे पास एक भाषा का पाठशाला है जहाँ मैंने हिंदी सीखा और बाद में मैं काशी गया मैं बनारस गया क्या कोई आज उत्तर प्रदेश से है बहुत विशेष प्रदेश है तो मैंने कुछ बहुत खुशी हफ्ते बनारस में बिताया और जैसा अमन जी ने कहा वैसे पिछले सितंबर में मैंने मेरा काम ब्रिटिश हाई कमीशन में शुरू किया और आज मुझको भी बहुत गर्व है कि मेरा बड़ा बेटा थॉमस और मेरी बड़ी बेटी इजाबेला मेरे साथ में है इसलिए हम एक साथ आपका बहुत सुंदर विश्वविद्यालय देख सकते हैं और विश्वविद्यालय की उपलब्धि के लिए बहुत बधाई कि 10 साल पहले तो शायद अभी मैं हिंदी से अंग्रेजी की ओर चलूँगा लेकिन थोड़ा संकेत है कि मुझको हिंदी भारत की संस्कृति में बहुत रुचि है so it's a great pleasure to be with you all today to talk a little bit about the UK and to talk about the possibilities of studying in the UK. I come from the 3rd largest city in the UK. Which city is that? The 3rd largest city? Manchester. Oh, you've read my CV. Was that on my CV? And we are massively proud of our education sector in the UK, just as you should be very proud of what Jindal has achieved in a short amount of time here. 4 of the world's top 10 universities in terms of world rankings are in the UK. And a lot of Nobel Prize winners have been produced in the UK. And or a lot of overseas Nobel Prize winners, including Indian Nobel Prize winners, have served within the UK. And in fact, the British Council did a survey recently, I'm sure some of you have come across the British Council, maybe all of you, our cultural arm. They did a survey recently that estimates that 1 in 10 world leaders have studied in the UK. So we're very proud indeed of all of that. And I'll tell you a quick story about my time in UP. One day I went outside Varanasi and spent the day in villages, and we went into public schools. And I was interested to open the school books. I think it was sort of about 8th grade. And I opened the history book and started reading about the East India Company, the terrible Britishers, the calamity of 1857. I thought, okay, that's what I would expect to see in that book. But then I opened the English textbook, and there was a whole chapter devoted to Stephen Hawking, working in Cambridge, undertaking his physics study in Cambridge and his disability in Cambridge. So I was really proud that in the textbooks in the government schools, in the villages in UP, a different story about Britain was coming out. And of course there are all sorts of benefits for you to look forward to if you consider studying in the UK. I can't really mention the weather, but the language, the student experience, I think, is a very important benefit. I think the quality of the tuition, the fact that our masters are 1 year masters, which is quite unusual. I wonder what other countries offer 1 year masters. I'm pretty sure in the US it would be 2 years, right? And in most European countries, 1 year masters. In the UK, so I did my masters at Royal Holloway, part of the University of London. University of London is about 30 universities and colleges, but there are fantastic universities all around the country. Science in Manchester, human rights in Sussex, journalism in Cardiff, arts in Glasgow, etc., etc. And Rajul and I should have mentioned Rajul at the start, who's deputy head of our evening team. We are very lucky that we are responsible for the British government's Chevening programme in India. Now, where does the word chevening come from? Has anyone spotted the origin of the word chevening? I think we'll have to pass to Shireen on that one. What's the origin of the word chevening?
It's the foreign secretary's official residence.
Right, so it's the big country house, and normally these were donated by rich people to the British government sort of decades ago. So one was donated to the Prime Minister called Chequers. Chevening is the country house that was donated to our Foreign Secretary decades ago. And it's sort of near Gatwick, south of London. And Thomas and Isabella won't remember this, but once we drove to the gate of Chevening, Thomas and Isabella, and as we arrived, these policemen came out with big guns and pretty much said, "Don't drive any further, back you go." So it's the name of the Foreign Secretary's property that's now given to our scholarship scheme, which was established in 83 or 84, correctly? In 83. And here in India, we have the biggest Chevening scholarship scheme in the world, biggest in the world, bigger than China. So we're hugely lucky as a High Commission that we send over 100 talented Indians like all of you to the UK every year, mostly to study masters, but also to study other things that we will go on to. And we spend over £2 million a year on our India programme, and we've been doing this for over 30 years. So that's what we're here to talk about today. And we have some Indians in pretty interesting positions who are Chevening alumni, not only Shireen and Professor Mudati, but also Gajendra Shekhawat, who's now in charge of Jal Shakti, which is a massive priority for the second term of Prime Minister Modi ji. And we're going to see some more names later on of interesting Indians who are Chevening. So we'll come on to that in due course, but we'll start to go through the presentation. What would be the start? And it will run for sort of 15 or 20 minutes or so, and we'll try and give you some practical details to help you make your mind up about whether this is a suitable program for you. And if we just take ourselves back towards the beginning, that's that one on the right. You can tell I didn't do my masters in IT. But there we go. So, for the most part, this program is for those of you interested in studying master's degrees in the UK. Scholarships, we call these Chevening scholarships. But we do also offer different types of Chevenings too, that we will go on to. And you can see that we offer this program to most countries around the world. Not all, but most countries around the world. And the scholarship is to study at any UK university, so there's no restriction. So you can really go out there and have a look at what course and what university suits you best in terms of you want to do. Most importantly for us, as the British government, we're looking for students with potential to be leaders in your field, in India, in the future. It's absolutely vital for us and for India, I would suggest, that you return to your country because this is where you're from, this is where you can really put your learning to good use, and also we hope be friends of the UK in India. So we're looking for really good leadership potential for the future as you think about your career. And you're all eligible, you're all citizens of India, of course, I imagine. You need already to have had your undergraduate degree. What stage are you at right now? Are you undergraduates, postgraduates, I think it's undergraduates? And when does your course finish? And which year are you in? Sort of range of years, second year? So that's good. You know, that means that we coming here today are planting a seed in your mind, which hopefully you can nurture and grow that seed as you complete your 4 or 5 years. But we would also look for you having some work experience as well, and not having received a scholarship from the UK government previously. So having some experience of the world of work is important as well. Shireen, if I can ask, how much work experience did you have for your achievement?
So I had about 2 years of work experience, but I also included my work experience during college. So because this 2 years is not full time, it can be part time, voluntary, during, before or after your undergrad degree. So there's a 2400 hours criteria, and that's what I put. I just wanted to add that there are students from their 5th year as well here. So they are right at the junction where they can think of applying.
Great. And as we heard from Manji, and as I read before coming, Jindal has a particularly strong record in placing students. So hopefully that will count. Rajul can confirm that afterwards. And then it's important, of course, that you go out and seek the offer from those British universities, that you provide them with the information they need about your results or your expected marks. And there's an English language requirement as well, which is on this next slide. Now, are these the sorts of tests, Amanji, that students can access quite easily from Jindal?
Yes, they can access this, but my question to you, Richard, is that why are they not exempt from TOEFL? Because this is an English language university and they're doing 5 years here, so why is there a need for them to go through this test again?
Funny enough, it's a question I asked my team today. So I had thought about that, and I don't know the answer, and we can check, but I suspect the answer is around consistency within countries and the difficulty of making exceptions. So we can check, but I would expect that your students would be able to reach these results without too much difficulty, I would hope. And it may be that you need these tests for other purposes as well. Yeah.
I wanted to ask that regarding the work experience, will our internships count? Like we have compulsory internships every year, 2 of them. So if you're doing, let's say, 10 internships over a duration of 5 years, will they add up?
Yes, they will.
Your name, year and course, mention that as well when you're asking a question.
Oh, okay. I'm Ananya Wali. I'm a second-year law student. And I had this question in my year.
So good news, the internships count. And it sounds like during your courses you accumulate a lot of hours of internships by the sounds of it. So great news for Jindal students. So we'll check on the English language points, but I suspect it's a policy across India and across other countries, I suspect, and hard to make exceptions. I hope some of these testing bodies are familiar. I imagine they are. Now, just briefly for your information, we also offer fellowships. We'll come back to scholarships in due course. Scholarships are probably the most suitable course of study for most of you to be thinking about. But if any of you are mid-career, and just so that you're aware of this, we offer fellowships which are short, tailored study courses for professionals, normally 8 to 12 weeks long, so they don't last very long, they're very intensive. For people with at least 7 years experience, we tend to select candidates who are in their late 30s, 40s, 50s. And these are the areas, really interesting areas: science and innovation, journalism, cyber, financial services, leadership, which give you an idea of some of the priorities of the British government with the government of Narendra Modi as we think and look ahead over the next 5 years. So our science fellowship is run by Oxford University. It's 10 weeks old. Our South Asia Journalist Fellowship is one of the programs I'm most proud of because it brings together Indian journalists, Pakistani journalists, Bangladeshis, those from other countries to work together at the University of Westminster for 8 to 12 weeks. And they have placements with the BBC, with Reuters, with ITV, with Channel 4, with other news providers in the UK. We have a cyber fellowship, which is fairly new, Rajul. How long has that been running, that fellowship? So we're on to our third year. You're at Cranfield University, which is linked to our Defence Academy, I believe. Financial Services Fellowship, not a surprise given the importance of the City of London and the financial services sector to the UK economy, for mid-career professionals with specific experiences as outlined. And then our flagship leadership program for 12 weeks at the University of Oxford. It's a very special program. And this year we have a Vice Chancellor from an Indian university attending, I believe, Reggie. It's very multidisciplinary in terms of the types of candidates who attend. We've got ISA officers, we've got entrepreneurs, we've got people from the education sector and elsewhere. So we can come back to fellowships, but I think scholarships is probably more relevant for us today. So what do you get with achieving a scholarship? Well, pretty much everything. It's a full package. It's not, you're not going to feel rich with the package. The UK is an expensive country, but it's a full package that allows you to live and study and feed yourself and get to the UK and pay for your university. I think there's even an allowance for winter clothes, is that right? Which is a good thing to get your jackets and boots before the cold weather starts. The tuition fees are covered in full, although spot the disclaimer at the bottom about MBAs. You get slightly more in the way of living expenses in London than you do elsewhere, but bear in mind that London is generally more expensive, so you may find your money goes further outside London, even though you don't receive as much. We don't help with accommodation. You receive a living allowance. Accommodation is expected to come from that. But pretty much any university that you choose will have an international officer that will help you find suitable accommodation, which often means student accommodation, a bit like here, living in a student halls or residence with people with similar interests, a similar age, and a safe environment that works for you. What was your accommodation, Shiri?
So, I was a little late in applying for accommodation, so I didn't get accommodation on campus. But I stayed at a very nice common sort of accommodation about 5 to 7 minutes from my university. It was called Claredale House, and it was pretty good. And the living stipend comfortably covers your accommodation expenses, your food, a bit of travel, getting your books, getting from one place to another. All of that is comfortably covered. But generally it is considered that if you're living in London, you should not exceed £650 per month for your accommodation.
£650 for accommodation or for all your living expenses?
So it would cover electricity and all of those things. But that's what is the current prevailing sort of rate.
So that gives you an idea of the financial package, if you like. But you get other benefits too from becoming Achieving. And one of the most significant benefits is that you join our alumni network that you remain a part of for the rest of your careers, and we'll talk about that a bit more in due course. It's a large network with a lot of interesting people for you to meet in the future to help you in your professional development. So timelines, and particularly for those of you in the 5th year now, which is your last year if I understand correctly, applications are open, so the key deadline is 5th of November. Applications are all online, so that's the key deadline to get your application submitted. And then early in the new year, applications are shortlisted, and then we have an interview process. So that's one interview for all shortlisted applicants. We make sure it's not a scary experience. It's quite possible that Rajul will be on the interview, perhaps myself. It's normally about 40 minutes, where we ask you lots of questions about yourself. So it's your chance to tell us your story. So interviews are February, well, a bit later actually, March to May. And then the results, with a view to starting your course in the UK this time next year. So that's the timeline. Rajul and his colleagues are currently making sure that the current Chevening scholars are all ready to go. They've got their visas and their passports, and that they get on that plane and arrive in the UK in the next 2 or 3 weeks. University starts mid-September normally. So we're looking a year ahead for you. For those of you in your 5th year. Yeah.
My name is Pash. So I was asking that since the eligibility requirement is a 2 years work experience, so it would be futile to actually apply for it this year, isn't it?
It would be if you can't meet that criteria. Do we quantify that, Rajul, in a number of hours? We say 2 years.
So all your internships, I want to add before that, all your internships, all your projects, everything can be counted for that. Okay, 2 years it is a mandate. You have to have 2 years experience. Then even if you don't have a full-time experience of working in an organization, the projects likely to be inside the university and all the internships can also be. Just that you need to prove that you have worked for the experience. Yes, we need to prove something to that.
These given requirements. I mean, there are certain universities which take into account grades more than the overall development, such as whereas there are other universities which look at your general work experience. So, what is the inclination of Chevening generally?
It's a great question. Our inclination as the British government is your overall potential as someone who can achieve excellence in your chosen field. Be successful, be a leader, and be a really good advocate for good British-Indian relationship in the years ahead. So we don't look too much at specific grades. We require you to have the degree. But of course, in parallel, you're applying to the universities. In fact, by the time, if you're successful and you get the Chevening Award, you will need to have received offers of places at the universities you want to, so that you may find they look much more at your grades. And if you want to go to, top university, Imperial College London, to study chemistry, then you'll need really good grades.
I would just like to add to the work experience point. So basically, when you go to the application form of the Chevening, it will ask you point-wise the activity that you did and the number of hours you dedicated. It's the eligibility, right? So it will be asked to you in the beginning of the form itself. Once you fill it, if it comes down to 2,800 hours, so you could include voluntary experience, so all your clubs, societies, and also ask for bullets of what kind of work that you were engaged in, how many hours per week you dedicated in that kind of activity, your teaching assistantship, how many hours did you spend actually working as a teaching assistant and preparing for being a teaching assistant. For example, you could also assist the professor in preparing the course manual, etc. So all those hours, your internships, some projects that you might have worked on with the center, all of that is counted as your work experience. Now, the only suggestion here is that since you are going to be fresh graduates, now there is no bar for fresh graduates to apply. So you can still very well technically apply right now. But it would all depend upon how you have listed your activities and whether it is coming down to those number of hours. I'm not sure 2,400 or 2,800 hours is one of those. Please check online. And it's a pretty competitive process, right? So your work experience should be as good as somebody else applying. So that you would know only once you apply. So just to answer briefly, that technically you are not barred from applying just because you do not have 2 years full-time work experience once you are out of campus. It is all about how you can justify your work experience while you were in campus. And some of you have been parts of these external NGOs in school as well. That also you could include.
So when it comes to Russell Group universities that are very prestigious, can we say that maybe in terms of GPA requirements, their standards, like their bars higher when you're applying to university, let's say University of Bath or, I don't know, University of Kent, that's not Russell Group, but all these very prestigious universities. So can we say in terms of GPA requirements, is there any that standard that this minimum should be met? GPA, that's your grade point average.
Perhaps, Rachel, you might be better answering that.
I don't think so. I will still check, probably I can get back to you on that. But I don't think so there's any specific requirements for GPA. Probably I think Shireen can.
I have an idea about this. So if you're talking about masters in law and masters in public policy, the general requirement for any university in UK would be UK 2:1 honours, which is called upper merit, which means in the range of 65 to 70%. So your GPA is always converted into a percentage, right? So for example, you have a 6.9 and your multiplier is 10, then you have a 69%. Then you are in that range of 2:1. But generally, when you have first class honours, which is 70% plus, you have higher chances of getting into that university, subject to your other profile and your activities. But UK 2:1 honours is something which is usually said. If you have a doubt regarding your parallel sort of qualification, you can always write to the admissions office at the concerned university, and they give you a very accurate answer, and they are very responsive.
The lesson I take from my own education experience, you'll see I went to Oxford for my undergraduates, and then for my masters I went somewhere different. In my masters I studied decolonisation essentially. And I wanted to go to a university that was really strong in this specific area, and that's why I chose Royal Holloway. And the wealth that the education offer in Britain is so good that I really encourage you to think about what you most want to study and where the strongest places are, because there may not necessarily be. And the obvious universities to pop to mind. If you wanted to study ocean studies, for example, Southampton University is one of the best places you can go to in the UK, Southampton. So depending on your field, I think that's your starting point. What are you most passionate about? And then which university has the best record, produces the most research, has specific departments in the area that interests you. Let's go back to Shireen's point quickly on study and the question about the study hours. I think maybe one of the lessons from today might be that if you're in year 1, 2 or 3 now, do that voluntary work, that helping out, the placements, do as much of that as you can because you'll grow doing that and you'll help yourself in the future. My son Thomas is already volunteering with young learners, young children. You can start at a young age. So the more you do of that now, the more you can help yourself. Good, so moving on, it's a slightly compressed timeline for fellowship, so I won't go into the detail too much, but applications close earlier in October and interviews earlier. So if any of you want more information on those, grab me or Rajul afterwards and we can talk about those in more detail. So what is the application process like? What does this involve? Well, we've talked about the timelines. So 5th of November is your key date for this year. Online applications, and in the application form, we'll ask you for examples of the following things. And this is where you will want to produce good answers to beat the competition, and so that you can tell us a story. What have you done around leadership and influencing? And you can draw on all different aspects of life, from being a sports captain to leading a society to working as a volunteer. How do you network? How do you build relationships with others? How do you make the most of your professional network if you have one? So we've got those 2 areas, leadership and influencing, networking. And then we will want you to explain why the UK and why the cause. And I learned the hard way this way when I was 20 at Oxford and applied for a teaching job in Japan. And I thought the interview was going really well. I went to the Japanese embassy in London. I thought my answers were going well. And at the end of the interview, they said, "Tell us what you've read about Japan in the newspaper." And I didn't have a very good answer to that question. And I left the interview knowing I wouldn't get the job. I'm not sure I've told Thompson about this. And a few weeks later, the letter came through saying, "Thank you for coming, very sorry you've not got the job." And I thought, that's not a surprise. So you can help yourself by thinking through why the UK, why your course, how will that help you, and what's your plan? What do you plan to do after the course? And what benefit will you bring back to India? And how will that investment of money, thousands and thousands of pounds by the UK taxpayer, how will that help you achieve excellence in your career back in India? So we're giving you all the hot tips basically today. These are the areas in the application form. And it doesn't do any harm just to start thinking through some of those things. So we talked about the alumni. The man in the middle is not achieving alumni. Who's that in the middle? Prince William, Duke of Cambridge, meeting the alumni. And that's just indication to you that as achieving alumni, we in the British High Commission will regularly invite you to events. Rajul and his colleagues ran an event at our High Commissioner's residence a few months ago to celebrate 35 years of Chevening. When we have visiting ministers here, or even maybe royalty, we invite Chevenings. I've written 3 times this year to J.K. Rowling to come to India and help us in our work. She said no, but we keep trying. we'll probably write to her again next year. And we have our database of 3,000 Chevening alumni, and we can do thematic searches on the database around journalism or gender equality or policing, and bring together a smaller group of Chevenings for a specific conversation. If, for example, we want to learn more about the justice system here in India, well, we'd certainly invite Shireen and other Chevenings to come and talk to us about that. So we're lucky in the High Commission to have the resource, and you would be lucky to have access to our alumni community. So over 3,000 in India, and we try really hard to keep you connected by sending you information and newsletters and updates and invitations so that you feel a part of this community. And next slide, who are examples of some of the Chevening alumni in India? Virat Kohli is not one of them, I'm afraid. So we're very proud and lucky that we have such illustrious people as Amitabh Kant, people in very senior positions in major Indian companies like Tata, and in some of your most well-known news groups like India Today and ORF. Perhaps some of you come across ORF, a very impressive think tank, and we're now doing some very interesting work with ORF in Africa, and trying to make a bridge between Britain, India and Africa through the lens of the Commonwealth. And the Commonwealth Heads of Leaders Summit in Rwanda at the end of next year. We took an ORF delegation to Rwanda a couple of months ago to work with us specifically on climate change and disaster resilience issues. And of course, Modi is at Biarritz today talking about exactly those issues, along with digital and other matters. So that gives you a bit of a taster of some of the positions that Chevening alumni have reached, and we should add Gajendra Shekhawat to that list as well. And we're on social media. So get out your smartphones afterwards, follow at Chevening FCO, and while you're at it, follow at UK in India, because we'll probably be tweeting out about today. And then you can start following what Chevening does and what we do in the High Commission. So that, at the end of the slides. And final picture for all of us, what have we got there? How old is Stonehenge? 6,000 years? How was it built? Stone, we don't know how it was built. The stones came from South Wales, we don't know how. So that's the end of my presentation, and Rachel and I are very happy to answer any more questions you've got. There's something else I want to mention at the very end, Amanji, but maybe we can move on to questions first. Thank you.
Students, just ask your questions, just mention your name, your badge, and the question that you would want to relate to Richard and Rachel.
I think before questions from the students, I have a question, Richard. I think this is because we have, I'm the Director of Alumni Relations here, so I imagine the alumni also would be eligible either for the Chevening Scholarship or for the Fellowship. So I wish to advertise this on our alumni portal and invite them, although for the Fellowship probably the timing is very tight, but I'd still bring it to their attention and see if there is interest there.
Please do, MNG. We wouldn't offer 2 scholarships to the same person. Those are scholarships. Fellowships, I'm sure, Reggie. I'm sure we would be happy for achieving scholars to subsequently apply for a fellowship.
After 5 years of work of the group. So scholars can apply for the fellowships once they are done, and after 5 years, but a fellow cannot apply for any other fellowship or a scholarship.
So please do advertise it. That would help us. Thank you.
Your questions from students?
Yes.
No, there's absolutely no gap. In fact, generally in the UK now, we're really trying to get rid of age discrimination. So there's no gap. But I guess it's only natural that most people applying for their scholarships would be in their earlier career rather than later. There's no formal age gap.
So I am from Barlow, and I am in the third year as well. So I was asking, I went to Cambridge recently to inquire about the admission process in Cambridge, and they informed me that they have a parallel process for applying for scholarships in which you just put in your name and they will consider your name for numerous other scholarships that is being availed by students. So would Chevening be a part of it, or is that, like, how does this work? Because I know that there are multiple other scholarships which are being offered for students from the UK.
Yeah, and you're right. And often universities have their specific schemes. So we have just given the first ever scholarship by the British government to a slum dweller from Delhi, Chandan Singh. And Chandan, who was born and brought up in a slum, tells a story that at night time there was no light. So he would find a street light and sit under the street light with a chair and study. And he is going to Imperial College to study pure mathematics. Pure mathematics. Amazing story. The High Commissioner Sir Donald Asquith invited Chandan to his house 2 weeks ago for his goodbye event. Shireen, that's where we met. And you'll find that if you follow us on UK and India. Chandan received multiple offers of scholarships from the universities, but in the end he decided to go for Chevening because of the wider benefits around the network and you know, the prestige and the name recognition back in India. But of course, if I was in your position, I'd probably apply for what I can, keep your options open, and then you can take decisions later on in the process. But these different schemes don't really talk to each other. So you have to coordinate as the students and apply for the schemes that look relevant to you.
I would just like to add to the discussion. So the admission, the college admission process is independent to the Chevening scholarship application process, and every other scholarship, fellowship, financial aid is independent of each other. Now, even if, so there are some scholarships or fellowships which are offered by colleges, and you are considered for those scholarships and fellowships just by sending an admission application. For that, you do not need to send a separate scholarship application. But keep in mind that Chevening, you would have to submit a separate scholarship application, and your admission for colleges is totally your responsibility. That would be a different admission application. Also, just one more point with respect to the diversity in this scholarship. Basically, it's a merit scholarship. So they are at no stage they are going to ask you of your financial resources. So there is diversity. They are purely judging you on the basis of your work. So don't be in this preconditioned thought that only people who cannot afford. I mean, at least 90% of the people cannot afford an education in the UK. So everyone qualifies on that. But my own suggestion is that don't let let this govern your decision of applying for the scholarship or not. Because at no point they ask you for your financial resources, but when you apply for financial aid to certain UK and US law schools, I'm speaking about law schools but other departments as well, they will ask you for your financial information to check your eligibility for a financial aid. So these are the two things I would like you to keep in mind.
Thank you, Shireen. Such an important point that we in the UK, we as a UK government, take really, really, really seriously our responsibilities to never discriminate on the grounds of age, gender, religion, sexual orientation, socioeconomic background. That none of that has anything to do with this application process.
A lot of UK universities I've seen on their websites, they mention this thing called bursaries, which are loans given. What's the essential difference between a government bursary and a scholarship?
Well, I can only talk accurately about scholarships, but scholarships are for you, for your use. They're given to you for your benefit, and in no way is there ever any expectation of the money being paid back. I imagine bursaries come in many different forms. Maybe sometimes they're loans, maybe sometimes they're smaller grants to assist. We aim at achieving to cover all your costs.
Any other questions?
I have a question. Parents, my daughter. So I don't know why my daughter's not bringing this up, but she's passionate about poetry, and she's doing literature and psychology as an undergrad course. We keep trying to motivate her to, sort of write her own book and get it published, because I see very few people who are so creatively blessed who can, just churn out a poem in 5-10 minutes. That's her passion. Just wanted to know, will that also work as a work experience criteria, like you said, that the hours that you're putting in and you're working towards it?
I don't know to check this.
I haven't seen it anywhere in the
Probably I think it is good to put it in. If I was an applicant, I would have put it in, and I would have considered it as my research, so independent research work, and how many hours it took me to complete that. In any case, publications are viewed very positively for all of these applications, even for your admission. But it's a discretion of the commission.
Yeah, because I need to check on that. Putting in hours to write that book would count as work experience.
Wonderful, you're passionate about poetry. I spent an afternoon at BHU listening to undergraduate poets reading in the open air. It was a very special experience. And look, you could study at Warwick, near Shakespeare's birthplace, or in a South Wales university where Dylan Thomas came from, or I think Seamus Heaney studied at Belfast, Queen's University. So lots of inspiring options for you in the UK.
From the LLM course. So I'm doing my master's from this college. Actually, I had a question. So, does this course or the scholarship, does it allow the PhD students? Is there a this thing for the PhD?
Short answer is no, Rachel.
It's only to study one year master's.
Okay, only the master's.
But you can study another master. After LLM, probably another.
Good. So there's no block to you with your law masters doing another one. But no, we don't fund research through Chevening. There are other funding organisations for PhDs, but not Chevening. Because we're looking for people who will come back and enter the world of work and contribute to India and its development and to good relations between India and the UK. Do we have time for one or two more questions? I quickly want to mention something else as well. Any final burning questions? Yeah.
I'm from final year as well. So I just wanted to know if there are some other agency scholarships that I've applied for, apart from CHEP. So can both of them exist together if I'm awarded both of them? Or
Choose one obviously. I mean, you can apply for a lot of scholarships, but then at the end you have to
stick around for 5 minutes at the end if there are any questions you want to ask in person. So just quickly, when you're on your smartphones later today, follow at UK in India. And if you want, follow Richard Barlow 06 as well. And if you go to UK in India, you will see, for the ladies in the room, that we have a competition that comes to fruition ahead of the International Day of the Girl on the 11th of October. And it's called High Commissioner for the Day. So if you're a woman, and if you want to be British High Commissioner for the day, go on to UK and India and send us a short video about why gender equality is important to you. You'll see the information online on Twitter and Facebook. And we are then going to choose an Indian young lady to quite literally be our High Commissioner for the day. You will come into the High Commission and you will spend the day with Sir Dominic, sitting in his seat, going to his meetings with him, and seeing what it's like to be the British High Commissioner in India. And that special day will be on the 3rd of October, and then we'll use the footage and the videos and images from the day for the International Day of the Girl on 11th of October. So please apply. Thank you again. It's been such a pleasure being here and meeting you all, and I wish you best of luck.
Just request Amit sir to present the memento to Richard.
Thank you. Very nice. How would you do that? Very nice. And next time I come, I'll wear it.
Okay, that'd be great. And this is the Vice Chancellor's address at the convocation.
Okay.
I mentioned to you that there are all kinds of details here.
Okay.
Maybe of interest school by school. There's lots of details here. It's a very detailed report. 26 pages.
Wow. तो क्या उन्होंने समाधान 10 का दिवस का जन्मदिन दिया? Was that on the 10th anniversary?
The anniversary is continuing.
Okay.
So this was on the convocation day. Yeah.
Thank you.
Amit sir, I would request you to present a memento to Rajul. Amit sir, I would request you to give closing remarks.
I think we had a very useful discussion here, and our students, I'm not sure, again, for the benefit of Richard, I can say that lots of our students go abroad for studies, for higher studies. The number of students currently in the UK either studying or they've just started working there after study, and maybe they will come back to India. There are about 25 of them in the UK. Of course, probably there is always a competition between US and UK. There is a higher number in the UK, in the US. Hopefully, the Chevening Scholarship will attract more students to apply to UK as well. Now, as I said, because we are still a young university, but our students have started going to Oxford, Cambridge, all the leading universities in the world, Harvard, Cornell, and various other places. And I hope that this scholarship and the fellowship will also help you to achieve higher heights. And I recommend that you all consider the scholarship very strongly. And of course, if you have any queries and questions, you can ask Shireen, who is our home officer on Chevening in the university, or of course you can also write to Rajul or to Richard and get your queries cleared. So thank you all for coming, and I'm glad that Richard's son and daughter also are here. They are studying here in India? In the UK, okay. All right. So anyway, welcome, and I hope you have a good stay in India. So thank you all very much. And now I think we are all hungry, so I don't want to stop you from going for lunch. Thank you all very much.
I would just personally like to thank Richard and Rajul for coming here, taking out the time and speaking to the students. And I would request all of you to come outside the academic block for a photo opportunity with the British High Commission representatives.